Anytime I'm feeling low or uninspired or I just need something, I'm missing something, I will go on a hike and I will get up there and I will just stare out and just kind of take it all in and remind myself of why I'm here in the
Hello, thank you for joining and welcome back to the Align Wellness Podcast, where we talk all things wellness. From fitness and nutrition to personal growth, meditation and mindfulness, and so much more. I am so excited today because we have our very first guest joining us. He is not only a great friend of mine, but a mentor as well. He is a NASM certified personal trainer with a 500-hour personal training certification through NPTI. He is a VersaClimber certified trainer and is working on certifications in nutrition, correctional exercise specialization, women's fitness specialization, stretching and flexibility, and coaching. He has been such an inspiration, not only on my personal fitness and wellness journey, but in my career as well. He has helped me in so many ways and been such an encouragement to me. Please welcome to the mic, Loui Pacheco. Hello.
What's up?
I'm so happy to have you.
I'm so excited to be here.
How are you feeling today?
I feel really good.
Good.
Yeah.
I'm just really grateful for you to be here today.
Thank you so much for having me. This is exciting.
So I have us some mocktails.
I see.
I've been on my mocktail kick.
I like that.
And I took your favorite drinks, which are a margarita, a pina colada, a matador.
Yeah.
I kind of made a little twist of all of them. So
I know. I see the lime and the pineapple.
Lime, pineapple, coconutty.
Okay. Cheers. Let's see what you created here. Oh, this is good. Wait, this is like I require
also,
a second sip.
Let me tell you, I have been doing all fresh, clean ingredients.
Okay.
So I made my own coconut agave.
Oh.
Coconut agave, a pineapple sparkling water, and lime juice. So.
This is bomb.
Thank you.
This is so good. I'm going to be sipping on this.
Also, part of this is that you get to name the drink. So not like no pressure right this second, but you're going to have to name your drink.
No pressure, but pressure.
No pressure, but make it good.
I'll think about it.
So we have you on here.
Yeah.
I was telling everybody just what a inspiration you've been on my personal journey. And my goal is to share with the world what I have learned and the people who have shared that with me.
I love that.
So tell us a little bit about your fitness journey and why you started and how you started.
My God, I guess it's been, 10 years?
Wow.
Yeah, I moved to LA in 2013.
Wow.
And not to do anything with fitness, but to dance.
Yeah.
That's how we met. I started working out before I moved to LA, and I used to be like super thin. And I never worried or cared about my body, what I looked like. I was dancing and no one ever mentioned anything. And I was like happy, I was fine. But when I started thinking about moving to LA and the type of jobs that I wanted to book, I started seeing patterns of what the guys look like. And I was like, okay, I don't look like that.
Right.
And if I want to dance for this artist, I feel like I'm going to have to fit a certain look, an image. So I started working out. And I remember this trainer at the LA Fitness came up to me and my friend one day, and he's like, oh, what are you guys working on? What are your goals? And my friend was much bigger than me, so they're like chit-chatting. And then he looked at me, he's like, what are you trying to do? And I said, I'm trying to put on 30 pounds of muscle. And he kind of laughed, and he's like, yeah, no.
Wow.
And I was like, what do you mean? And he's like, no, you're always going to be thin. He's like, you may get a little shredded. He's like, but 30 pounds? No way.
As a trainer.
Yeah, and I felt so defeated in that moment and so down. But I remember going home and I said, what does he mean? I was like, why can't I? And I started Googling and getting on all different blogs and articles about gaining weight. And I discovered this term called hard gainers.
Okay.
Guys or people that have a hard time gaining weight. And I was like, that's me.
Wow.
And I realized that I just wasn't eating for the goals. So I said, okay, I'm going to do this.
Okay.
And I started working out and meal prepping and eating all day. Literally, it was scheduled on my phone. I was at work, and if I had a 15-minute break, I was pulling out a full meal.
Wow.
My coworkers were like, you're eating again? I was like, mm-hmm. My next lunch break, another meal. The 15-minute break, another meal. I was literally feeling like that's all I was doing, eating. But that kind of started it for me, but it was personal, like clearly like motivated by my career. But I had these personal goals of wanting to do something somebody said I couldn't do. That's the one thing. If you do that for me, it's over.
Oh, absolutely.
Because I'm going to just like, now I want to show you that I can do it.
I can do this, absolutely.
So then I moved to LA in 2013 and I was dancing, and I had already danced for like 9-10 years. And I loved it, don't get me wrong, but I still felt like my soul needed something else.
Yeah.
Like I didn't feel the same fulfillment that I used to feel for dance when I did years ago.
I can absolutely relate to that.
And I just remember listening to a podcast and hearing an interview with Lewis House and Simone de la Rue.
Wow.
About how she transitioned from a dancer to a trainer. And I thought it was so inspiring because that's what I was like already kind of thinking I really liked, because I had made such a transformation myself.
Yep.
And the compliments that I was getting about how I looked, I really liked that. So I was playing around with the idea of just like training. And that podcast came on and like really like solidified that that was something I really wanted to do.
Wow.
Yeah. So I sent her a tweet and I said, hey, just listen to your podcast. So inspirational. Thank you for sharing everything. And she tweeted me back. She's like, oh, you're so sweet. I don't remember exactly what she said.
I've never heard this story.
No?
No.
Oh, yeah. It gets better. Wait for it. So, you know, I worked at Apple as a side hustle for a long time while I was dancing. And I was at the Apple store at the Grove working at the Genius Bar. And some petite blonde woman is like looking over at me, kind of like looking like as if she recognized me. And in my head, I'm like, did I mess up her phone? Did I mess up her computer? What's going on?
She's coming for me.
She's looking at me like something happened. She comes up to me. She's like, are you Loui? I said, yeah. And she's like, it's Simone from Twitter. And I still didn't know. And I was like, Simone? And she's like, yeah, Simone, you tweeted me about the podcast interview. I was like, oh my God. I was like, how do you know it was me? She's like, I recognized you from the little picture. She's like, I just wanted to say hi. I have a studio in West Hollywood. You should just stop by and check it out. And I was like, okay, yeah. I thought that was so cool for somebody to do that of her caliber, you know?
Absolutely.
She was training all these celebrities and things like that. And she took a moment to just say hi. Kind of forgot about it. Maybe like 2-3 weeks later, I'm walking down Santa Monica Boulevard, heading to the gym, and I look up and I see Body by Simone. And I was like, that's her studio. I was like, let me just go in and see if she's there. I walk in. The place is closed, like no classes or anything going on, but she's behind the front desk. And she's like, oh my God, you made it. I was like, hi. I was just walking by randomly and I saw it. She's like, let me show you around. So she gives me a tour of her space, beautiful space. And we end the tour facing a wall with all of her trainers. All of her trainers were female trainers. And she looks at me, she's like, oh my God, you and I were supposed to meet. I said, what do you mean? And she's like, I've been wanting to bring on a male trainer. She's like, you're the male trainer. I was like, I don't do any of that, you know?
Right.
And she said, but you said you wanted to, right?
Yeah.
I said, yeah. And she's like, okay, if this is something that you want to do, I'm willing to give you the opportunity and teach you.
Fate.
Absolutely.
Wow.
And that
is so
really
cool.
like catapulted me like diving into the fitness industry.
Okay.
You know, she like opened the door and I just like said, let's go.
That's beautiful.
And the rest is history. Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Pretty awesome. Yeah.
I love that. How do you feel that it has impacted your life in a mental way, as far as your confidence goes, as far as any of that goes?
Just fitness in general. As I started to get older and life started to get, you know, a bit more real as far as like, you know, the responsibilities that we have to take on as adults, I realized that the one constant that I had was working out and how it made me feel. And I even, you know, think back to dancing because that's a form of working out.
Absolutely.
You know, like me stepping onto the floor and dancing, moving my body, sweating, lifting weights, getting up early and doing it really set the tone for how my days were gonna go. And the days that I didn't do it, I definitely felt it, you know?
Yep.
And I'm not talking about a rest day. You know, everyone needs a rest day, but I'm talking about the days where I knew I should have worked out or should have gone to dance and I didn't, how I felt. And it was low.
And the trajectory
energy.
of the rest of your day.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
it definitely changed everything. And it's a huge part of my life. And that's never going to change.
Absolutely. What does your current workout split look like? What does a week look like as far as your workouts go?
You know, it's been changing. And because I've been working out for so long, I'm like at a place right now where I'm discovering or like experimenting with different ways of working out. So the most recent split that I had was traditionally what people call like a bro split, you know? So like chest and tris, back and biceps. I'd hit legs twice, you know, whether it was, you know, my glute dominant or, you know, quad dominant exercises and splitting them on different days. Most recently, I released a 12-week program, and I started to do it with my clients.
I love that.
And that started off as just 3 strength days, and they were full body,
Okay.
which I started to really like. I was like, oh, I never really work out like this myself. But the reason I created it like that for clients was to really get a strong foundation of just working out in general and for them to be less sore throughout their first phase, the first 3 weeks. If they're working a little bit of everything, you know? And I started to enjoy it. Right now, I'm playing around with it, just like seeing what feels good in my body that day. So I'll have an idea. It's like, okay, I worked out. I did strength work yesterday. So today, let me do a hike. Let me do a little bit more cardio work. Or maybe I want to do a little yoga and just like really move and like at a slower pace. So I'm being a bit more easy with myself as far as like what I'm gravitating to that day.
I love that. I feel like that's kind of the journey that I've been on as well is how does my body feel today? How does my mind feel today? Do I feel like pushing through a heavy lift? Or do I feel like doing something a little bit lighter, like going to a hot yoga class, you know? And I think it's important for you to listen to your body in that sense and not force anything. I think some people can become very like to the point where of course they want the structure, but sometimes it's to your body's detriment and your mind's detriment when you're forcing it rather than enjoying it. And that's ultimately for me why I work out is because I enjoy it. It's a form of meditation for me. So I definitely can relate to that and not putting so much pressure on it has to be this, and this.
And I think too, it's very goal specific, you know? So right now, yes, I have goals of like, you know, slimming down a little bit because I gained some of that, you know, relationship weight. Which
it happens.
It's nice. I don't mind it, but it's definitely different for me. So when I see it, I'm like, oh hell no.
Right.
Hold up.
Right.
Everybody else is like, you're fine.
You look
relax.
fine.
And I was like, no. I don't want fine.
Yeah.
I want to be like snatched.
Absolutely.
Right? And I look back at pictures. I was like, wait, that was a year ago? Hold up. What?
Wait a second.
So with that in mind, knowing that there's something that I want to achieve, yes, but also going about it in a different way. If I was like really, really committed, where like I want to get to this specific body fat and this certain weight by this time, then I would be more, you know, committed to like, okay, this is the structure that I have to follow on a week-to-week basis. But right now, I'm in a place where I just want to move and feel good while going towards the goal.
Absolutely.
The goal is there, but I don't have like a timeline of when to do it.
I love that.
Which gives me now the freedom to just see what feels good.
And enjoy life.
And enjoy
along the
life,
way.
exactly.
With all of that being said, do you feel like you have ever suffered from a type or form of body dysmorphia?
Oh my God, absolutely.
And talk a little bit about that in your experience, because I know
here's
we all
the thing.
do.
Like I mentioned a little bit ago, I used to be thin. And when I say thin, I am 6 feet tall and I used to weigh 125 pounds.
Wow. Okay.
Okay? That's how thin I was. but I always was like that my entire life.
Right.
So growing up, I didn't know anything else. That was my body. And I also, grew up without social media, at very different times. I say we come from the best generation because we did not have social media and the internet growing up. And then it started to become a thing as we were a little bit older in our teens. But the pressures, that we have now of how we look. I mean, I compare my pictures of like being 12 or 13 to 13-year-olds now. I was like, yeah,
completely different.
Completely different.
Completely different.
But back to the body dysmorphia, absolutely. Because even when I gained the muscle and I gained the weight and I was looking completely different, every time I looked in the mirror, I still felt like I was skinny. And now I will look back at some pictures and I said, what the heck? I look damn good. I was like, can I have that body back right now? I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
And I look and I was like, I remember exactly how I felt that day when I took that picture. I felt skinny. I felt like my arms were small. I felt like my back was small. And now I look at it, I was like, I was jacked. I was huge.
Wow.
So yeah, and that's, it's a constant. Here's the thing. I also come from a world of modeling and dancing where I am constantly being judged about how my body looks. I have given other people the permission to judge me based on what it looked like.
Yep.
So that is what I was used to.
Yep.
Show up to a casting call or an audition and knowing that I may not get the job and it had nothing to do with my talent, but it had everything to do with he's too thin. He's too tall, not tall enough.
What you look
like. He has curly hair. He's too pale, He's too ethnic, Whatever the reasons were, it was always about my image.
Absolutely.
So in a lot of ways, I trained myself to always nitpick what I saw in a mirror and always to compare it to other people.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it took a while to deal with that. And it's still there.
Yeah, of course.
It's absolutely still there, but I can check myself
You have
now.
the management, the mind control of it.
Yeah.
That's good. That's important. That was going to be my next question is today, how do you feel? Of course, I feel like once you have body dysmorphia, it's always there to some extent. And just as you were saying, I can relate to that. Growing up dancing, it's been constantly judged for my body. And it definitely took a toll on my mind for some time, and just like you, now I can look in the mirror and I start to have these thoughts that maybe start to take over and I have to just check myself and reel it back. And I think it's been really good for me in a sense of we were talking about working out to feel good versus working out for that body. So I completely relate to that. And I think that I've created a healthy mindset around that to where, how does my body feel today? I feel good. I feel strong. I feel healthy. And that's what is the most important.
Absolutely. You know what I've done too? I've owned it.
Yep.
I have accepted that is something that I deal with.
Yes.
I have body dysmorphia. I have certain thoughts about what I look like and what I feel like. And because the world that we live in now is so driven by social media and seeing this perfect image of people all the time, I've actually just owned it because a lot of people will sometimes message me or even friends will tell me when they start to mention something that they're dealing with and I start to maybe share my experience as well. It's like, oh, what would you know?
Oh, wow.
As if I don't have the same issues that many people have because I look a certain way or I carry myself a certain way. So realizing that I'm just like everybody else.
Yes.
I'm no different than, 10 people that we pick down the street right now as far as how they feel about themselves. So now I just own it and I share it. And that was one of the scariest things that I recently did was stop judging myself on not looking shredded and really built how I used to look before because I felt like I'm in this industry. I'm a professional in the industry. So how can I post myself looking a certain way
Yes.
when I'm supposed to be the gold standard and the image of what people aspire to look like?
Yes.
And I realized once I took those pressures away and I said, hey, this is who I am. This is where I'm at right now. This is what I look like. And it doesn't change anything about me.
Right.
I'm still the same person with the same knowledge, the same skill set.
Right.
And this is where I'm at, just like you. And it's actually liberated me to just be more honest and more free in my own body and accepting it for where it's at.
I love that.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing, because I think it's important.
Yeah.
Just as you were saying, you know, people can look at the outside and think something completely different because of the way that you carry yourself, because of you're consistent in your fitness and your nutrition. And the reality of it is that we all have the same struggles internally, externally. And so it's important to share those things and for people to understand that everyone has those challenges and no one's alone on their journey. No matter where on your journey you may be, you're not alone. So
Absolutely.
as far as your self-care practices go, how do you make sure that you are taking care of yourself before you take care of your clients? And what does that look like?
It is constant work. The one thing that helps me a lot is planning ahead.
Yep.
So if I look at my calendar the day before, I usually do my calendar for the week. So I know what's happening that week. So if anything comes up, I'm like, oh, and I have an opening here, an opening there. And I'll schedule my workouts in as if I would a meeting or another client. And sometimes that'll change based on what's happening in the day, but at least I have a solid idea. It's like, okay, around this time, it's going to be workout time or whatever it is that I've decided to plan. So yeah, the calendar helps me a lot.
That's good. It's helpful to have things written down for sure.
You have to.
And I think it helps to hold you accountable as well. I think that's something that I've definitely struggled with in the finding the balance between myself and my clients, is that sometimes I have clients, like early morning clients, like 5 a.m. clients, and you're like, how do I do something for myself before that?
Yeah.
It's next to impossible. It's not impossible, but you know, but being able to set those boundaries so that you are feeling your best and performing at your best, I think is so important. And I think a lot of times, I know I struggled with it for a long time because I had and have people-pleasing tendencies where you want to accommodate to everybody, you know, but realizing that when you're able to operate from your best self, that's when people are going to get the best you and the best results. Do you have a morning or a nighttime routine that you try to stay consistent with?
You know, yes. And when it comes to like consistently doing it, I will say it doesn't happen every single day. But typically, yes. I have this weird thing right now where I am literally splashing my face with just cold water
I get up. I love this.
So light the Palo Santo, walk all around the house, walk down into the gym,
I love
do all that. It kind of just like, I don't know, it puts me in this really relaxed mood and inspired mood. While I'm making the coffee, I love the smell of coffee too.
Yep.
And then I come back and the water was still running cold.
Wow.
So I said, F it, let me just do this right now. And I just did it. And now it's become a thing.
Wow.
Where I just turn the water on and I just splash my face. I don't wash it, you know, I just like splash it. And I heard somebody else doing this. And I said, oh,
people have been doing it with like bowls of ice cold water.
I've seen that on social media, you know? And listen, like I've researched a lot about the cold showers and things like that. And I've done them here and there. I do more of the like the ice baths.
Yes.
Or like cryo than like the cold shower.
Okay.
I'm not fully there.
Okay.
Yeah, but the cold water on the face just kind of like gives me a little jolt, and it wakes me up, and I feel really good about it. So I do that. I light the Palo Santo. I have to have my coffee.
Yes.
So I have my Nespresso, and I make my iced coffee, and it's like just the best. And then I get outside.
Yes.
So I've been getting fresh air and natural light first thing when I get up.
That's so important, and it's so good for your circadian rhythm too.
It is.
And yeah.
So people don't realize this, but like how many people actually are getting up, especially working from home now, right? Like that's the new norm. So people get up out of bed, their blinds are still down. They sure make their coffee, do whatever, right? But the blinds are still down. They sit in front of the computer, start their workday, and not once have they gotten any natural light. And then they wonder why they're so tired throughout the day, why their sleep patterns are completely off. We need natural light to get these circadian rhythms in tune and balanced. And also it just feels really good because I'm up early. Let me just get outside. It's a little cooler, you know, in
crisp
the morning.
air.
Crisp air. And I just walk.
Yeah.
Sometimes I put on my AirPods and I'll listen to something. And sometimes it's just silence. And I'll just walk around the block. Sometimes it's half a mile. It takes about 10 minutes.
Yep.
And that's it.
And you're getting your fresh air. You're getting your
Some
sunlight.
steps in, getting the sunlight.
Yep. I started doing that too, and I started calling it my gratitude walk. It's in my calendar as my gratitude walk, and I just take a second to appreciate whatever it is that morning that I'm grateful for, whether it's the trees or like seeing the squirrel crawl up the tree, you know, but just taking a moment at the beginning of your day before you do anything else to get that sunlight, get the fresh air, and just express gratitude for life. It starts your day off on such a positive note.
It does. I have a gratitude journal as well. And again, like I go through phases where I do certain things and then I put it to the side and I'll do something else. And that's something that I really love doing, just connecting to different aspects of the things that I enjoy doing.
Yes.
And checking in with myself. I don't need to write it down all the time.
Yes.
I'm still doing the same thing. I'm asking myself what I'm grateful for. I'm setting an intention around how I want my day to be. What are the things that I want to achieve? And that feels okay for me too. So sometimes we get so caught up in like, it needs to be this exact step every single day. And if I don't do it, I have failed the day. And it doesn't have to be like that.
Not at
you
all.
can be flexible in your approach to things. And at any moment throughout the day, you can make a different decision to change how you're feeling.
Yes.
You know?
Oh, yes.
So
Absolutely.
the day's not a failure until the day's over and you've actually put your head on that pillow. In that moment, if you've actually recognized that things didn't go the way that you planned, maybe because you were missing a certain step of what you typically would do, then that's your nighttime moment to recognize what you can do different the next day.
Yes.
So you change the outcome.
Yes.
So
Absolutely. I love that. And I think, you know, like you said, it can look different from day to day. And just as we were talking about with our workouts, you know, some days you don't want to sit and journal and you just don't. But it's important to check in with yourself and see how you're feeling in order to address that and in order to express that gratitude and do all of those things. So finding ways that are most beneficial and feel the best to you, and whether that looks the same every single day or whether that looks different every single day. But I do think my number one thing is check in with yourself before you check your phone in the morning.
absolutely.
Like, hands down, don't pick up your phone
that's hard.
until
Listen, it's
you've
hard to
checked
do.
in. It is.
It is hard to do.
Absolutely is.
You know, the first thing I want to do when I get up,
Yep.
besides maybe snoozing, you
Well,
know, give me an extra 5 minutes. Okay.
Yep.
But pick up the phone, turn that alarm off, and it's
already there.
in your hand.
It's the worst.
And the first thing you want to do is like, let me take a look at the notifications. And I put it down. Because if I don't, I know 15 minutes
Yep.
will go by.
Yep.
And I've just been scrolling
Yep.
because I looked at one thing and then I saw a post that
Clicked on something
grabbed me,
else.
and now my attention's there.
Yep.
And now sometimes I see something that I don't want to see, a news article or something that happened that just kind of changes the energy. And now that's my first thing. And I'm like, now I'm affected by it.
Yep.
Now I have to work that much harder to get out of that mentality, you know?
And get back into
And
alignment.
get back into alignment of like how I want to feel.
Yeah.
So no phone is great.
Yep.
Yeah.
I've been considering getting an alarm clock, like an actual alarm clock for that reason, because everything's on your, like, I don't really need my phone like that.
Yeah.
I also today just deleted Instagram off my phone.
Okay.
Because I was like, we're not going to do that this week.
I love that.
We're going to just, we're so accustomed to just, it's a habit. When we're bored, but like it's one of the things you open it and then close it and then you open it again.
And then you open it right back again. Literally.
And you're like, I just saw this post. What am I doing?
If you ever watch people do it, I've seen people when I'm traveling with people and I'm like, this girl has opened up that Snapchat app 3 times in the last 5 seconds. Open, close, refresh, check the notifications, close it, open it.
And I think too, it affects your mental in so many ways, not just with the social media, but with your phone as well, because we're so used to that instant gratification. And that's been something I've been working on is, you know, enjoying the journey, trusting the process, and to be able to find that peace in that balance.
Yeah.
And when we're constantly checking for the next notification, checking to see if somebody called or messaged or whatever it is, I think that when you kind of start to recondition your mind out of that, then it also impacts your life and the things that you're working on, and you have more patience and you have more of a peace surrounding everything. So
I did that a few months ago. I deleted all of my social media apps, not the accounts or anything. I just got them off the phone. And I would check my notifications on my browser on the computer. I said, well, I'm going to check it once right now. And then it was a hard habit to break because I would pick up the phone. I was like, oh, yeah, I don't have that app right now. And I'd put it down. And I was like, I wonder what's happening right now, though. What's going on in the world?
Isn't that crazy?
And I found myself, I was like, I realized that I'm getting my news through social media.
Yes.
I was figuring out what was happening through Instagram or through Twitter, you know? And I was like, well, now how do I know what's going on?
Right.
You know,
Right.
because everyone will post the first breaking thing that happens. And, you know, I was like, so I did enjoy it. It was nice. It made me realize how much time I was wasting. You know, I gained all this time back and I was like, oh, this is nice. I'm getting so much more done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it just allows you to be so much more present.
Yeah,
too,
less distractions.
You know, and that's what it is. We're watching other people's lives. We're watching what everybody else is doing. Like, why are you doing that when you could be out living your life?
That
like
part.
having experiences, whether it's like going to a new coffee shop, like it could be the smallest thing, walking around a park you've never been to, whatever it is. But I think it's important to just kind of take a step back because we, as a society, have become so consumed by social media.
We have.
And just being able to acknowledge it. That doesn't mean you have to get rid of your social media or anything like that, but being able to just have that awareness is really important.
It is. Learning balance.
Yes.
Learning balance. Because it's a great tool, you know? I always used to tell myself that my goal in life, in my career, was to have everybody in my living room, or I wanted to be in everybody's living room. When I said that, people would ask me like, what do you mean, how? And I was like, well, I want to have a book about my story. I want to share my workouts through an app, through a website. I want to be accessible to people. And social media is an amazing tool to do that.
Absolutely.
I mean, I remember during the pandemic, people from all over the world were taking my classes. Never would I imagine that like people in Europe and Asia are waking up to do my workouts. I was like, wow, this is so awesome. But then on the other side of that, it could be such a negative thing if you allow it to be.
If you allow it to be, absolutely.
You know? So it's just, again, finding the balance of how all of these apps could be useful for you. And when you find that maybe they're having a negative effect on you, maybe you're being much harsher on yourself. You're being more judgmental. Maybe it's time to just step back and reassess.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
As far as your diet and nutrition goes, what does that look like? And also, where do you stand? There is a huge scale of nutrition. And where do you stand on that?
Okay, so I'll start with where I'm at right now when it comes to diet and nutrition. And I don't like using the word diet because it has such a negative connotation You know, you say diet and immediately you're thinking of things that you're restricting.
Yes.
Or I can't have this, that's bad, or this is good. And I don't think food is good or bad.
Okay.
I'll start there. I think everything out there has a time and a place.
Okay.
I'm a foodie. I'm
Absolutely.
Puerto Rican. I love food.
Me too.
Okay. I love it all. So right now, I say I'm about like 85% to 90% eating at home, cooking, you know, lean proteins.
That's amazing.
You know, I stopped eating fish just recently. I was eating a lot. And then I saw one thing that I didn't like seeing.
Okay.
And I said, okay, I'm going to take a little break, you know? So I've been doing, I love ground turkey.
Okay.
It's like my go-to lean protein, and you can make it so many different ways. Shrimp, chicken here and there. Again, same thing. You know, it doesn't always feel that great when I eat it.
Yeah.
I even went through a phase where I was like going full vegan. You know, I did it for 6 months and realized I can't do the full vegan because I still love, you know, certain proteins. So I started bringing it back in. But I try to cook almost every day.
Okay.
And if I order out, I try to order out something that is in line with my goals.
Right.
But also, I will go out.
Yep.
I will pull up to the drive-thru, okay? I am not above a drive-thru.
What is your favorite drive-thru?
I have to pick.
Well,
I mean,
give me like two. Give me
two.
Okay, so give me
it's
top
McDonald's or Taco Bell.
Okay, Taco Bell's at the top of my list
Yeah,
for sure.
like straight up. I love a quesarito.
Yep.
Or a gordita crunch.
Yep.
It's great,
Yep.
you know. I'll do the quesadilla here and there, but yeah, and then McDonald's and number one, no pickles.
No pickles.
Big Mac, by the way, if you don't know what the number
I don't
one is.
actually.
Yeah, number one is the Big Mac.
Okay.
But yeah, but listen, when it comes to food, I really do think that balance and moderation is key.
Yes.
Life is also meant to be enjoyed.
Yes.
So when I am training my clients and I am putting them on a nutrition guide, that is exactly what it is. It is a guide.
Yes.
I am not restricting anything unless it's something that it's a necessity in order to reach their goals. So like if a client tells me, it's like, hey, I am eating fast food every single day and I drink soda all day, every day. Well, you know what? If your goal is to lose 20 pounds, we're going to have to get rid of that soda.
Right.
And you can't get fast food every day. So I will change some of your patterns and behaviors and things like that. But I will not be the one that will tell you, you cannot have bread or you cannot have carbs or you can't have this or you can't have that. You know, there's yes and no's to certain things.
Absolutely.
And that just has come with just time.
Yes.
Learning myself about the things that I enjoy eating and also how certain foods affect my body.
Yep.
And also learning just clients in general. You know, so many people can get like certified in nutrition and try to spit it out to a client the same way they learned it in a book, only to realize that none of that works
It's
like
not
that.
going to work for everybody.
It's not. You have to really learn people for who they are and learn their patterns, learn their triggers, and little by little start, you know, making adjustments and suggestions of things that they can change. Because food, especially, the food and working out, nutrition and wellness in general, it's a lifestyle change.
Yes.
And so many people have been accustomed to making this a temporary change.
Yes.
And that's why they're so drastic.
Yes. And
So
that's why
you
they
have
don't
all
last.
these diets.
Yep.
It's a diet culture, right? Cut out this, don't eat that, only eat this, right? But then you find that there's another one that comes out and another one that comes out because they're not teaching people sustainable ways of taking care of their bodies, especially around food. And ultimately, I just want to eat well, eat healthy, to support my goals, to support, you know, the energy that I need for each day while also enjoying life.
Yes. Yes. I think that the education aspect of it is so important.
Yeah.
And until people really understand what is going to work for them and their bodies, and it's not so much about cutting anything out,
Right.
but it's about implementing the things that are going to help you reach those goals
Right.
and the things that are also going to help you feel good and help your body to operate at its optimal capacity.
Absolutely.
So it's definitely more about the lifestyle change. And that's, I am specializing in
Yeah.
that. So it's interesting to see though, because it's different for everybody.
All
it
of our
looks
bodies
different.
react differently too. Like some
specific
people
foods.
can handle protein really well and their body responds really well. Some people don't respond as well, or they respond really well to carbs.
Yep.
And some people don't.
Yep.
So again, everybody is different. There's not one size fits all approach to food and exercise.
Yep.
You got to figure out what works for you. But the only way to figure that out is a lot of times to hire a professional that can help you figure that out, right? Because there is so much misinformation everywhere.
Yes.
Especially through social media. I could scroll, through 10 posts and maybe 2 of them have opposing views on the same thing. I said, well, who do you listen to? Both of them have a great following, are knowledgeable, have the certifications or the background, right? So it's like,
I don't know where to go.
right.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
works for you?
Absolutely. And it's a trial and error process for
It
most
is.
people,
Yeah.
is you have to be consistent in that and be diligent in what you're eating so that you can learn and understand what is working for your body, what's not
Yeah.
working for your body.
And that's why I went vegan.
Yeah.
I was like, I want to try something different, and I tried it out. It was okay. But I realized that a lot of the stuff was also still processed,
Yes.
And I was like,
Yes.
well, I'm eating processed foods and I don't want to eat processed foods, even though this is like healthy vegan. It's not necessarily it,
Yeah.
So I started implementing more of the animal proteins because my body actually responded much better to animal protein. I could have, the vegan protein and I didn't feel as like full
Yep.
when it came to like my workouts. As soon as I started implementing the animal protein again, my body responded much more. I was looking a little fuller,
Lean. Yeah.
which I really liked.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
With that being said, what is your thought on, there are so many today processed foods with added proteins, because everyone's trying to be on this high protein diet, protein, which is great. Yes, we love the high protein, but what are your thoughts on all of these things that have lots of protein, but maybe they have a lot of other ingredients?
And that's the thing. Here's my number one thing that I tell everyone is you need to get your nutrients. And I'll say nutrients, protein being one of them, but your nutrients should be from whole foods first and
Yes.
foremost.
Yes.
Start there.
Yes.
If it's in a box, it's the last choice. So things that you need to cook that don't already come in a box or prepared already are your first choices. So whole foods, so vegetables of all colors,
Yes.
fruit of all colors. And I'm not talking about the dry fruit in the bag that you get at Trader Joe's. I'm like talking the fresh stuff that will
Yes.
go bad in a couple days if you don't eat it.
Yep.
And same thing with the proteins. And there's so many sources of proteins that you can get. Whether you could be vegan as long as you're getting enough of these nutrients. It's totally
Absolutely.
fine if your body responds well to it. But the added protein, like now you can get oat milk, but with extra protein on it.
Wow.
Yeah. And listen, I've looked at it. I was
Yeah.
like, well, okay, well,
Yeah.
what makes this extra protein? And as soon as I turned it around, it has all these ingredients in it. And if it's longer than 5,
Yep.
the list, I'm not doing it.
No.
It's too much. And now that same milk, I won't put the name out there, but the same milk now is selling a different version and they market it with only 3 ingredients. So you have this one, in the shelf that says protein, right? And it has a long list of ingredients. And then right next to it, only 3 ingredients. And I turn that one around and it's exactly what you want. Water, oats, and salt.
Yep.
That is it.
Wow.
That's the one that I'm going for.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And you know what's crazy though is that the one with the protein,
Cheaper.
it's much cheaper. It's like maybe let's say $3.99, yep. And then the one with the 3 ingredients, where you think less ingredients that should be cheaper to make. Oh no, that one's $6.99.
Yep. Yep.
So it's like I'm trying to make a good decision here, but now I gotta pay double the price.
It's hard. It
is hard. So all the extra added stuff to food, let that be a last resort.
Yep. I agree. I also, with all of that being said, I think that there are so many people right now that are suffering from gut health.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And I think that 90% of it has to do with all the added ingredients that people are consuming. I know from personal experience, when I started cutting all of that out and started eating only whole foods, I started feeling so much better. I didn't have the gut problems, and I was able to, my body processes things so easily and properly. And that's how it should be, but I do understand it's hard. You go to the grocery store and just like you said, it's like, oh, well, this alternative is cheaper, so let me go with this one. But just being mindful and making small changes where you can and where you're able to, I think is important.
Yeah, and it's so important. And listen, the food industry has to improve. It's, I compare our food to like when I was in Europe. And I typically here will not have, cheese or milk or anything like that because it upsets me. And when I was in Europe, I said, well, F it, I'm in Italy, so I'm gonna have the pasta. I don't care how I feel. Well, I had it.
And you felt
with all the cheese and everything. I said, F it, we're doing this, And I was completely fine.
Wow.
I said, wait, what?
Wow.
Had my gelato, completely fine.
Wow.
And I said, I'm cured. Got back to the US. I was like, I'm going to do more pasta. Nope.
Yep. Can't do it.
So, our food system here in the US is troubled and needs so much work.
It does.
But, the best thing that we can do is just make the best decisions that we can with what we have,
with what we're given,
available to. And that's why I don't like to say there's food that's good or bad, because all of us are in a different situation as well.
Exactly.
I also see a lot of food shaming, from these people that have learned about the effects of food, which I absolutely get and I appreciate it, right? But to shame somebody on the types of food that they're buying based on their ability to only be able to buy certain types of food, right? That's all they can do, right? So why shame somebody around making those decisions?
Absolutely.
Instead, it's just about putting information out there for people to have access to. That's what my approach is. This is what I typically will eat. I like to make certain choices around organic or not and things like that. And if you can make those choices, amazing. If you can't, that's okay.
Right.
But try your best to, where you can, make better decisions.
Absolutely. I think that's a beautiful approach because it allows people to have that education and then make decisions based off of that. And that's what's important. So
yeah.
Okay, so I've been huge on the self-growth and self-discovery in the past couple of years. What would you say you do in order to continue your self-growth?
That's a great question. The number one thing, I have honest conversations with my friends.
Ooh.
And that's as simple as I can put it. I've always been a very motivated person. I grew up with nothing. I was born in Puerto Rico. My family struggled, to have a lot of things. I mean, I remember, when we moved to the US, sometimes not having food, or having the lights cut out, or maybe not eating my lunch so I could bring it back home to my mom because I knew she didn't have anything all day.
Wow.
So I've come from a place where I know what it's like to struggle. And I also had seen my mom, you know, sacrifice a lot to be able to provide me with opportunities. So I've had this mentality of making this life that I have the best life that I can make.
That's beautiful.
So I've always been very motivated, goal-driven, and just passionate about just life in general. If I get up each day, I am going to, you know, 9 times out of 10, make the best of that day. You know, not every day is like that, of course. You know, but I can say that the conversations that I have with my closest friends are what allow me to constantly check in with where I'm at and where I want to be. And I'm always speaking from a place of wanting to achieve. And not because I need more or want more. I just feel it in my heart that there's still things that I want to achieve.
Absolutely.
And when I think about the why, it has nothing to do with me and my own desire, but more about me wanting to help other people. So, yeah, I think anytime I align myself with that message of being a service of like to other people and to allow myself to like go after a certain goal, I know that it's for a bigger purpose and it's to touch all these individuals. So that drives me.
Absolutely. And that's because that's what you're passionate about. And I believe that you operate best when you do have that alignment and you have that purpose. And that's when you feel your best. And that's also when you're able to give your best to everybody else. That's beautiful. Do you have a specific book or books that you have read that have been impactful to you?
Yes. The most recent book, and I am still reading it, and I don't want it to end, and I'm probably going to start it over again. It's that type of book.
Okay.
The 5 a.m. Club.
Okay.
I just love that book so
Wow.
much. And it talks about, you know, the things that you can achieve when you are part of that 5 a.m. club of getting up earlier. And for some people, 5 a.m. may be like crazy, right? Because they don't start their day till 9. They're like, why would I do 5?
Right.
It could be any time of the day, as long as it's before your work day starts or your commitments start. And that's ultimately what this book is all about. But it's just a very inspirational book, you know. In it, there's 3 main characters, and one of them is like the main guy that has achieved all of this success, financial freedom, and basically has life figured out, right? But it's by following these certain steps. And then he has an entrepreneur that has joined him on this little trip and an artist. So you have these 2 different people that have completely different lives. One struggling as an artist without, you know, any inspiration to continue to create art. And then you have this like, you know, entrepreneur that's built a business that's super successful, that has all this money and still doesn't feel like they have what they need out of life. So throughout these stories, you get to see this main character kind of give them these little tools that they can implement in their days so they can achieve a life that they are happy with. So it's been really good for me to read that. Outside of that, Grit is a great book.
Okay.
What's another one? The one about habits. Why am I going blank on the name?
Atomic Habits.
Atomic Habits.
Yeah.
Another great book.
It's great.
Okay.
It's a great one.
The 4 Agreements. Okay.
The best. That's
Another
one like
great
I can
book.
read. I will read for the rest of my life.
I've read it a couple times. Yeah, I'm big on like the self-help books.
Me too.
You know, it just puts a lot of things into perspective, and there's just so many ways to go about it too, to go after your goals.
Absolutely. And I think that in every self-help book that I've read, of course, like the entire book doesn't resonate with you,
No.
you know, but
Yeah.
you are able to find the bits and pieces that do
Yeah.
resonate with you. And what's crazy is that you can read that book again, maybe 2 years later, and you get a completely
hits
different
different.
message.
Yeah.
Yes. And I think that it's great. It also builds that self-awareness because it allows you to check in with yourself and check yourself. Do I do this? Do I perform this
Yeah.
way? And how can I change and how can I better
Yeah.
myself? So I'm all for the self-help books for sure.
If I could recommend one, though, that everyone should absolutely read before anything else is a book by Simon Sinek,
Okay.
Start With Why.
Okay.
I mean, it says it in the name, Start
Right.
With Why.
Right.
And if you don't know your why, if you don't have the reasons of why you do what you do on a daily basis, it won't stick. Because especially in entrepreneurship, and that's where I'm kind of speaking from, or anyone passionate or driven or motivated by a desire to achieve something. If you don't know the why behind it, it's going to be really difficult for you to stick it out and pursue it, because not every day is going to be a great day. Sometimes you get up and you feel like total shit. You feel uninspired. You do not feel motivated. You don't want to work out. Don't want to make a good breakfast. You want to stay on the couch. All those things, right? Like, it's just life, and we're all going to be hit with all these different emotions sometimes, or different situations that we have to deal with. And what you always have to be able to tap back into is that why.
Your why.
And it really helped me a lot in solidifying what that was
Okay.
and understanding it.
Being able to articulate it.
Yes, because
Wow.
it's one thing to know it, right? But then it's another thing to fully understand it and dissect it,
Yes.
because that's going to allow you to then put in place all of these action steps to stay aligned to that vision and purpose.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a really great book.
I haven't read it. I'll have to
Yeah.
read it for sure because.
And you can use it in anything. It could be, the person that introduced me to this book, by the way, was an old manager at Apple.
Wow.
And yeah, even though I was there part-time, it wasn't a career that I wanted to have, it was still something that I was showing up for. And whether or not I wanted to be there a year or I ended up being there 10 years, right? What I decided to do every day that I left my home was something that I needed to be in alignment with. Like, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it.
Yes.
Not just get through it or just go through the motions.
Right.
And I had to find something that I was passionate about in that field in order for me to be connected to it. And just like, again, realigning with the why I was in that job in the first place. Why am I in this relationship? Why am I choosing this as a work? Why am I living in this city? Everything is always going to go back to the why. And if you know your why, if you're intentional, or if you know your why, you will be intentional with choices that you make. They'll be in alignment.
Absolutely. Your why is so important.
Yeah.
And
it's like your compass, your North Star.
It is. And it helps you to progress in so many ways. If you don't know your why, it's hard to have a purpose or a drive or a reason to get out of bed in the morning. So it's definitely something that people should be more aware of and start to dive into if you haven't already.
Yeah, it's a great book.
Okay, so speaking of your why, tell me about your journey as far, you don't have to give us the whole story, but I want to hear some of the best parts of your journey. And we're not going to say worst parts because I don't believe in that, but some of the struggles that helped to shape your journey and shape who you are.
I will start with, I guess, one of the earliest memories that I have of my mom dancing in practice in Puerto Rico.
Wow.
Yeah. So she used to dance and she used to model. And I remember being at a practice that she had with this silver boombox, old school, right? In this auditorium. And I want to say I don't know if they're technically projects, but I feel like they were projects. These like cement buildings, they all looked the same. There was a ton of them, you know, and yeah, very low income. But I remember being in this auditorium sitting on a mattress, a random mattress, and her and I guess one of her guy friends practicing and dancing and just having so much fun dancing to this music. That is my earliest memories of like seeing my mom do something that she loved and me watching it. And even like right now, I just feel it. And I will say that started this love and passion for music and dance. And then I'll like fast forward, moving to Florida, you know, starting to have more of like a good life, right? Which it still had its ups and downs for sure, but the American dream,
right?
You know, I think about being involved in music, whether it was band or talent shows. I was always just like putting myself out there and doing all of that, and then moving to LA. I did that in 2013, and it was the first time I had left home. Like I had moved away from like home and gotten my own place, but my parents were like 10 minutes away.
Right.
You know, they were always nearby.
Right.
This was the first time I was gonna go across the country. I did not know anyone in LA. I had never been here before. I didn't have a place to live.
Did you know at a young age that you wanted to be in LA? Or when did you have that moment?
I mean, I always saw, you know, dance tours and music videos and always wanted to be part of that life. Like it just always excited me. I always wanted to perform. I just knew that. New York was always big on the list. New York.
Of course.
Oh my God. LA, not so much.
Okay.
But then when I was comparing the different types of dance worlds, I was like, well, New York is more like Broadway, you know, or modern dance and stage. And LA is more like commercial, you know, what you see on MTV and the tours. And I was like, no, I like that.
That's what I want to do.
So I just decided to do it. So that's definitely like one of the most like positive experiences. But within that, I can say there's one moment that really, when I share this sometimes, I remember living in North Hollywood. It was summer. I didn't have a car, okay? Struggling to pay the $600 a month, by the way, that I used to have to pay for rent. And going to the grocery store, walking to a Ralph's, and not having enough money to like Uber back, so I was gonna have to walk. And I'm walking, and my bag of groceries breaks. And my groceries fall on the ground on a main street. And it had been already pretty rough. I had been here a little bit, and I was just struggling, you know? And I just remember kind of like feeling so defeated in that moment. I just fell to my knees for a moment. And I just like, what am I doing? It just felt so hard. Like the whole world was like crushing me. And I just had to grab, I remember the orange literally that rolled, and I had to like grab it and then pick up the food and somehow kind of put it all together because the bag broke. And walking home and like holding back tears because I didn't want to be crying out in the street, you know, looking crazy.
Oh, I would have cried for sure.
Crazy. I probably cried when I got home. I just like felt so like, what else? You know, what else? But it was moments like that that I always think back to.
Absolutely. And to have those moments that you can look back on versus now and really truly be able to express that gratitude and thank yourself and show compassion for that other part of yourself.
Absolutely.
You know, because at the time you felt just so low, but looking back, there was a reason. There was a why. There was a why.
And I've always looked at that. And that's why I love that you say, you know, like not negative experiences. Like, sure, we can have negative experiences. The reality is some are going to be really positive and some are going to affect us negatively. But we can always take something out of every situation.
You're always learning.
And that takes work too, to get into that mindset.
It does.
Because for many people, sometimes all you feel is like the world is against you. Anytime something bad happens, you feel defeated all the time, all the time, all the time. But you don't allow yourself to actually just see, how you got through that situation and what it's trying to teach you.
Yes.
I think we can learn something out of any situation we're in.
Yes.
And what that situation taught me right there is that sometimes you're struggling really hard. And when you think nothing else can happen, guess what? Be prepared.
It can.
Something else can happen. And it does. And I had a choice right there.
Yeah.
I could have grabbed my shit. I said, you know what? I'm done with this LA life. Why am I struggling? Where I could go back home and have a car again, have an apartment again, have a job, not struggle financially, be close to my family, enjoy the beach and the sun, all of that.
Yep.
But that's not what I wanted.
Yep.
So the choice that I made was get these groceries.
Yep.
Let me get home. Let me brush it off, feel what I feel, and remind myself why I moved out here in the first place. And I'm so happy that I did, because I'm at a place today where, like, sure, different struggles.
Absolutely.
Because we're always going to have them, you know? I'm struggling with completely different things, but I feel like I'm better prepared because of the situations that I've had to go through. So,
yeah. Yeah. If you allow any situation that you're experiencing or that you've been through to teach you something and allow it to be grateful for it. Like I always say that my toughest moments in life are probably the moments that I'm most grateful for because it allowed me to become a different version of myself. But like you said, it's a mindset shift. You have to take time to understand what is the lesson here. What am I supposed to learn, or how can I grow from this?
yeah.
And a lot of times, if you are able to sit back and do that, then those are the moments that are the most transformative moments of your life, which is beautiful. So.
Yeah, I love that.
What would you say is one of your highest or best moments on your journey? If you can.
So, I mean, I've had some really cool moments in my career. You know, when I got into fitness, the one thing that I wanted to do was like, I want to train celebrities. You know, I want to train this person and this and this and this. And then you do it. And I got to do that in the most unexpected way, you know, like it was written out for me. Like when I quit dancing, I always wanted to dance for Lady Gaga. And when I said, okay, I'm not going to dance anymore, I'm closing this chapter and I'm going to now like fully dive into training. A little part of me was let down. There was this dream that I didn't get to achieve that in a lot of ways still made me sad.
Of course.
When I would see it, I'm like, I didn't do that. I didn't get to do that, you know? And then here I go, committing myself to a completely different career. And one day, in walks in to my class, Lady Gaga, of all people, you know? Because other celebrities had come and taken my class.
Right.
But this one artist that I always wanted to work with walks in. And I just could not believe that moment. And then little by little, we started having a closer relationship to the point where she asked me to start being her trainer. Which, even saying that right now, like, I'm even struggling to tell the story just because sometimes it doesn't feel like it actually happened.
Wow.
It's just a really cool feeling, you know, that I got to do that. And it was something I always wanted to do. But the way that it came about was actually much better than I had ever imagined it. Because I always say, like, if I had been her dancer, like her backup dancer, yeah, we would have worked together, things like that. But I don't think it would have been as close of a relationship as what we had when I was her trainer. Because we connected in a much deeper, more personal way. I saw her in a way that many people will never get to see.
Absolutely.
And it was something that, was also very sacred and personal that I protect. I actually don't talk about this a lot. And I think I've mentioned this to you. I don't like sharing like who I've trained and like worked with and things like that because I don't always find it important, but I also have recognized that I also need to celebrate my wins in life.
Yes.
And that there's no shame in celebrating achievements and moments that make you proud.
Yes.
And this is a moment that definitely made me really, really proud. I will say that that's one of the highest achievements, to be able to work with such an incredible artist that's doing so many different things. I mean, we worked on a movie, we worked on a Super Bowl, we worked on a tour, we worked on a Coachella, like 4 different types of gigs. And I learned a lot in the time that I was with her. It also taught me the type of client that I wanted to work with on a daily basis. I recognized that as much as I love that environment, it was also very demanding. And I was in a place where I was in a relationship and it was affecting the relationship. And I also had other commitments in work. So I recognized that to work with that type of caliber of a person or an artist, it requires all of you. And I recognized that I wanted to do something a little different. I wanted to train people, whether they were an artist or not. I wanted to just train multiple people, multiple different types of people. I didn't want to be just with one person. So I recognized that, and I'm so happy that I now have such a wide range of clients, all ages, all different backgrounds and careers. And I've actually learned the most by training these types of clients than I would have learned by just reading a book or getting certified in whatever it is.
Absolutely. Experience.
But it was because of that experience that it allowed me to recognize what it is that I wanted. I'm not saying I'm turning down any other celebrity clients, but
keep them coming.
Keep them coming. But yeah, it's nice to just kind of step back and celebrate an achievement like that, because it was something that I always wanted to do.
As you should.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's amazing. Shifting gears a little bit. How do you, and we've kind of addressed this a little bit, but what are some ways that you continue to find and maintain balance in your life between all things, relationship, fitness, life, mental health, career, all of it?
Really valuing my alone time and being productive within that alone time, like allowing myself to really think and process. One thing that I've never been afraid of is my emotions, my feelings. Whatever I'm feeling, I express it. So whether that's through music, putting on certain songs that allow me to feel certain things. My friends always made fun of me for that, because if I was sad, I would put on sad music.
But that's the best. You play a sad song and cry it out.
And I cried. And they're like, why are you playing sad music when you're so sad? Play something else to like get you out of it. I was like, no. I don't want to get out of it.
Yeah, you got to sit
I
in
want
it.
to feel this.
Yep.
And I didn't understand that back then, because I've done this for a long time. But I realize now that I was processing these emotions or these feelings or these thoughts in a really healthy way, And it wasn't always like that, by the way.
Right.
But yeah, the way that I get back to myself and allow myself, the ability to be there for my clients, for my relationship, for my friends, for my family, is to value the time that I have for myself. So giving myself time to go on a hike is like huge for me. I love being outdoors. Once I get outside and I have fresh air and I'm like in nature, it's how I recharge my battery. So anytime I'm feeling low or uninspired or I just need something. I'm missing something. I will go on a hike and I will get up there and I will just stare out and just kind of take it all in and remind myself of why I'm here in the first place. So giving myself that. The beach is also huge for me, which I haven't done in a while and I need to. But there's something about the water, feeling like it's renewing me in a lot of ways. You know, water could be so peaceful and so chaotic all at the same time. And it represents life.
Yes.
In a lot of ways. So for me, just being out by the ocean, hearing the waves and just seeing how powerful it is and how calm it can be just helps me reset.
I love that. I can relate to both of those things.
Yeah.
And just getting out into nature, it's so healing. And a lot of times too, it just puts things into perspective.
It
and
really does.
You like feel this big.
Yeah.
Whether like if you're sitting in front of the ocean or you're at the top of the mountain, and you're able to just really see yourself in right exactly where you are in this giant world that we live in. So it's really cool.
It can be very powerful.
It is. It is.
And I think everyone should have something like that they do that requires them to be outside.
Yes.
And that they can do on their own.
Yes. Yes.
And I learned that, you know, I grew up with so much trauma around being alone. Like I couldn't do anything alone. I remember going to therapy and sharing all these feelings that I used to have about being scared of being alone, not doing anything. And the first thing that he asked me to do that weekend, he's like, what's one thing that you absolutely love? And I was like, oh, I love going to the beach. You know, being a Florida boy, like the beach is it. And he's like, okay, this weekend I want you to go alone. And I'm like, no.
Wow.
I couldn't even do that.
Wow.
I had such dependency issues and abandonment issues that I could not do anything by myself. I couldn't go grab lunch by myself, get a coffee by myself, go to the beach, anything. I constantly needed to be on the phone with somebody or calling somebody to hang out, something. And I remember going to the beach and not even getting out of the car immediately, but like saying, no, I can't do this. People are going to be looking at me, look at him by himself, loser, you know, all this like thoughts that would come rushing in. And I remember just doing it, and not immediately, but after like finally relaxing for a little bit, getting to just enjoy it, you know? And even now, I have to travel a lot for work, and 9 times out of 10, I'm alone on these trips. And especially like when I went to Europe, I'm in these places that I've always wanted to go to, but I'm there by myself. And it's like this two worlds fighting. It's like, I want to experience it, but I also don't want to experience it alone, but I do want to experience it alone. This is like mine to have for myself. But I think everyone should have something that they get to do for themselves without anyone else, with no distractions, that gets to be your thing.
Yes.
It's a powerful thing to have.
Yes.
And I'm not saying putting music on and like sitting in your room, because no, it's not the same. I am talking about something that forces you to step outside, be in nature, right? Because you said nature is healing.
Yep.
And having that for yourself. And if you have never done it, try it.
Try it.
Just do it.
Try it.
And it may be uncomfortable at first. You may be anxious. But I promise the more that you do things like that, the more connected, that you will be to yourself,
Yes.
to your own thoughts, the more comfortable you will feel with your thoughts, and the better equipped you will be to process those feelings or emotions. And when you have moments of doubt, insecurity, anxiousness, or all the things we feel when we're down, right? Go do that one thing, and I promise it's like a reset button.
It is. It is. It's not only powerful, but empowering when you're able to truly step into it and allow yourself to just be and exist and experience life by yourself without your phone, without needing to be on your, even if you just go enjoy your favorite restaurant and have your favorite meal and sit down by yourself, like there's so much negative around that. And so I completely understand why in those instances you felt that way, you know, because so many people are like, oh, they're by themselves. Like, I feel bad for that person. I'm like, oh, that's nice. I like going to eat by myself. I like going to the beach by myself. And it was a practice, but like, as you were saying, when you're alone, you're able to have conversations with yourself. And that is the person that you should be talking to the most.
Yeah.
You know, we get so used to having these relationships and friendships in our family, and we have all of these connections. But if you're not connected with yourself, how meaningful are these other connections really? And when you're able to sit with yourself and ask yourself the same questions that you would ask whoever it is, your family, how are you feeling? How's your week been? How's your day been? What's bothering you? What are you struggling with? And to be able to dive into that, and then you really get to know and understand yourself. And you're able to catch yourself in those slight instances when you're going into a mood or you're not feeling so hot. The more you do it, the more you're able to be aware of it and kind of refocus and realign yourself.
Yeah.
So
I will say 2018 was the big year for me where I started to really romanticize my own life.
That's beautiful.
And it was after a breakup. Okay. Because I had lived on my own beforehand. Before moving to LA, I was living on my own and things like that. But I can't tell you any time where, like, sure, I cooked myself dinner, all that stuff, you know? But it was just very generic. I just did it. And then I was in a relationship, you know, for like 4.5 years, maybe long. And everything we did was together. And everything that I wanted to do was, I wanted to do it with this person or for this person. And then the breakup happened. And I remember moving into my own place, my first time in LA, being by myself and having that like transition time where like, it's all like, it sucks. You know, you feel like shit. And little by little, you start finding yourself again. But what I will say that helped me a lot in that process was romanticizing when I made myself dinner.
Yes.
So instead of like waiting to be with somebody and lighting the candles and playing the music and setting the mood,
I'm going to do that
for
anyway.
somebody else, why am I not doing that for me?
Yep.
Taking myself out.
Yes.
To a movie or to a restaurant or anything that I did, it then became about me. And I think that's so important, even if you are in a relationship.
Yes.
Because I'm in a relationship now.
Yes.
But let me tell you, I still do things for myself as if I was doing it for my significant other. And that has been so life-changing because, like you said, ask yourself the same questions that you would if you were with somebody. And when you do that, you find that you're so much more connected to who you are. You're more in tune with yourself. You're more honest with yourself. You know exactly who you are, what you want, what you don't want. You start to just become so aligned with you. And once you do that, you find that your career starts to take a shift because you're in alignment with the things you want. Your relationship takes a shift because you're in alignment with what you want to receive and give. Everything just starts to kind of fall into place. But it all starts with us.
Yes. It starts
really
with
does.
yourself.
You have to take care of you first and foremost. You have to go deep with yourself. You have to get uncomfortable with yourself. And you have to allow yourself experiences and moments to get to who you truly are.
Absolutely. I think so many people are so used to loving somebody else before they love themselves.
Yep.
And it's a game changer when you really start to love yourself before you pour into somebody else, you know, and it gives you the essence of who you are. And it allows you to understand that. And it also makes you unbreakable and unshakable because you know that you have got yourself regardless. you
Oh,
know,
yeah.
and it's empowering, and it
is.
feels really great to be able to step into that and truly take care of yourself for yourself, not for any other
Yeah.
reason.
Absolutely. I mean, RuPaul says it, if you can't love yourself, how in the hell are you going to love somebody else?
Exactly.
You
Absolutely.
got to start with you.
Start with you always.
Yeah.
Well, with that being
Oh,
said,
I love it.
I know. Do you, is there anything else you want to share? Anything that we haven't discussed that you feel you would like to share with
I mean, the
our
last thing that I'll
viewers?
say, and I feel really strongly about this, is that, you know, this is all about health and wellness and like creating habits that allow you to live the life that you want to live, that you envision for yourself, right? And recognize that that's going to look different for you
Yes.
and that that's okay.
Yes.
And it's okay to be inspired and motivated by people that you see and follow. But don't let that be the only way that you think that you have to live your life. And I think we're all guilty of doing that. You know, it has to be this way because this person does it this way or whatnot. Recognizing that your life is yours and that you are going to make mistakes while you're discovering the things that you want and don't want. And that is through those, you know, experiences where you're going to learn about yourself and where you're going to start to figure out the habits that you do want to bring, that you enjoy, that you don't. So when it comes to just overall health and wellness and how you want to live your life, be easy on yourself, be patient, be kind, honor yourself first and foremost before you can honor anybody else. We just talked about that. And don't be afraid to like sit with yourself.
Yes.
Because the pressures of a career or a relationship or family are huge, but there is no bigger pressure than the ones we put on ourselves. And unless we have those moments of actually sitting with ourselves and recognizing what's truly important for us, for yourself, for me, you will never be fully fulfilled or fully satisfied with the choices that you make.
Yeah.
So be, you know, a little selfish for yourself and
Yes.
recognize what it is that you need and who you are, and then let everything align with that one mission.
Absolutely. That was well said.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me. This was fun.
Yeah, for joining and being the first guest on the podcast.
Thank you. I'm so excited and so honored.
I wouldn't have had anybody else. But yeah, thank you for sharing your wisdom.
Awesome. Cheers to that.
Cheers to that.
This was the bomb-ass drink.